February 17th, 2026. Mark that date. Write it down, set a reminder, tattoo it on your hand if you have to, because what happens on that day will determine the trajectory of your entire year. I'm not exaggerating. This isn't another vague cosmic event that might shift energy. This is a triple planetary alignment that astrologers, mystics, and students of synchronicity have been waiting for. And if you know how to use it, if you're actually present and intentional on that one day, you'll redirect the course of 2026 in ways most people won't even understand until it's too late. Most people will miss it. They'll be scrolling, distracted, running on autopilot, completely unaware that a portal opened and closed while they were asleep. And 6 months from now, they'll wonder why nothing changed. But you're here, so you won't be one of them. In this video, we're going to explore exactly what makes February 17, 2026 so rare and so powerful. We're going to break down the triple alignment, Jupiter, Neptune, and the Sun, and why this specific combination creates a window for manifestation that doesn't come around often. We'll talk about the actual mechanism behind planetary alignments and synchronicity, why most people completely miss these cosmic windows even when they're standing right in them, and most importantly, what you need to do on that specific day to harness this energy, not in theory, not eventually, on February 17th. Before we go deeper into this, if this kind of knowledge speaks to you, subscribe to the channel. This is where we keep building on this work together. This is just the beginning of what we're uncovering. If you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things, but the results just aren't showing up, like there's a missing piece you can't quite see, this might be the piece. Because here's what most manifestation teachings don't tell you. Timing matters. Not in a superstitious way, but in a very real, very tangible way. There are days when reality is more flexible, when your intentions have more pull, when the barriers between what you want and what you have start to dissolve. This isn't about believing in astrology. You don't have to buy into any of that, but there's something undeniable about certain days carrying more weight than others. You've felt it. Days when everything just clicks. Days when opportunities appear out of nowhere. Days when you make a decision and 3 synchronicities confirm it within hours. Those aren't accidents. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, the idea that the external world and the internal world aren't as separate as we think. That certain moments in time create conditions where intention meets opportunity, where the conscious and unconscious align, where reality becomes more malleable. February 17th is one of those moments, and the window is 24 hours, not a week, not around that time, 24 hours. Miss it and you're waiting years for another alignment like this, which is why you need to know exactly what's happening, why it matters, and what to do about it. So let's break it down. This alignment is rare, not because the planets never line up. They do, constantly. But because this specific combination of Jupiter, Neptune, and the Sun doesn't happen often. And when it does, it creates a confluence of energies that directly impacts how you experience reality. You're not just watching planets move across the sky. You're experiencing a shift in the field itself, the quantum field, the collective unconscious, the matrix of reality, whatever framework makes sense to you. The point is, something changes, and if you're awake to it, you can use it. Let me put this in context. The last time Jupiter and Neptune formed a conjunction was in 2022, and people who were paying attention during that window reported breakthroughs in areas they'd been stuck in for years. Not because they suddenly worked harder or got lucky, but because the conditions were right. The resistance dropped, the frequency aligned. And when you add the Sun into that mix, when your conscious will gets amplified by the expansion of Jupiter and the dissolution of Neptune, you're not just receiving energy, you're directing it. So let's start with the alignment itself. What's actually happening in the sky on February 17th, and why does it matter? Jupiter, Neptune, and the Sun will occupy the same region of the zodiac, not just loosely in the same sign, but tightly clustered, amplifying each other's influence. In astrological terms, this is called a conjunction, and conjunctions concentrate energy. They magnify, they intensify. Now, if you're not into astrology, stay with me, because the symbolism here translates directly into how you experience reality. These aren't abstract concepts, they're patterns that show up in your life whether you name them or not. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's associated with growth, opportunity, abundance, and the removal of limitations. When Jupiter is active in your life, doors open. Things that were stuck start moving. Opportunities that weren't visible before suddenly appear. It's the energy of more possibility, more resources, more momentum. But here's what's important. Jupiter doesn't create something from nothing. It amplifies what's already there. So if you've been planting seeds, working on something, holding an intention, trying to shift your reality, Jupiter is the force that takes that seed and grows it into something you can actually see and touch. Neptune is the planet of dreams, intuition, and the dissolution of boundaries. It rules the unconscious mind, the spiritual realm, the part of you that knows things without knowing how you know them. Neptune breaks down the walls between what you think is possible and what actually is possible. It softens the rigid structures of logic and linear thinking and opens you up to inspiration, vision, and connection to something greater than yourself. When Neptune is strong, you're more receptive. You're tuned in. The veil between the conscious and unconscious becomes thinner, and that's when synchronicity shows up. That's when you start seeing signs, patterns, confirmations. That's when reality starts speaking back to you. And then there's the Sun. The Sun represents your core identity, your sense of self, your life force. It's the center of your personal solar system. It's your conscious will, your purpose, the part of you that says, this is who I am, and this is what I'm here to do. When the Sun is involved in an alignment, it means you're not just passively receiving energy, you're actively directing it. Your intention matters, your awareness matters. The Sun is the spotlight, and whatever you focus it on gets illuminated and energized. It's the difference between drifting and steering. So when these three come together, Jupiter expanding, Neptune dissolving barriers, and the Sun focusing your will, you get a rare combination. You get expansion of what you desire, access to the unconscious forces that shape reality, and the conscious power to direct it all. This is not a passive event. This is a moment where your participation actually changes what happens next. You're not just experiencing the alignment, you're co-creating with it. Now, here's where Jung comes in. He didn't talk about planetary alignments the way astrologers do, but he understood synchronicity, the idea that meaning can connect events across time and space without a direct cause and effect chain. He observed that when people were in certain psychological states, external events would mirror those states in ways that seemed impossible to explain by chance alone. A patient would dream of a scarab beetle, and moments later, a scarab would tap on his office window. Coincidence? Maybe. But Jung didn't think so. He believed the psyche and the cosmos were entangled in ways we don't fully understand yet. That the mind isn't contained in the skull, it's part of a larger field. February 17 is one of those entanglement points, a day where the internal and the external are more synchronized than usual, where your thoughts, emotions, and intentions have more gravitational pull, where the universe, or reality, or the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, is more responsive to you. Not because the planets are doing something to you, but because you're part of the same system. And when the system shifts, you shift with it. Or you can choose to shift consciously, which is a very different thing. If this is opening your eyes to how manifestation really works, let me know by liking this video. This feedback tells me this work is worth continuing. But here's the problem. Most people will be completely unconscious on February 17th, not because they don't care, but because they've been conditioned to ignore these moments. They've been taught that every day is the same, that time is linear and flat, that one Tuesday is just like any other Tuesday. So when a day like this comes, a day that's charged, a day that's aligned, a day when the doors are open, they walk right past it. They're too busy, too distracted, too focused on the surface level of life to notice that something deeper is available. And 6 months later, they'll wonder why nothing changed, why they're still stuck in the same patterns, the same limitations, the same frustrations. They'll blame themselves or they'll blame the universe, but the truth is simpler. They weren't paying attention when it mattered. They missed the window. Not because they weren't worthy or because manifestation doesn't work, but because they weren't present, and presence is the entry point. Think about it. How many times have you heard about a significant astrological event after it already passed? How many times have you realized, weeks later, that you were going through something important, but you didn't have the awareness to work with it consciously? That's not your fault. We live in a culture that actively discourages this kind of awareness. We're taught to focus on productivity, output, achievement, not on cycles, rhythms, and energetic windows. But the people who understand how reality actually works, they pay attention to both. Here's an example. During the last major Jupiter-Neptune alignment in 2022, I saw people make career shifts, start businesses, meet partners, have creative breakthroughs, all within a few weeks of that window, not because they suddenly became different people, but because they were intentional during a time when intention carries more weight. They didn't just hope something would happen. They set a clear intention, they aligned their energy, and they acted, and reality responded. The people who missed it, they kept doing what they'd always done. Same routines, same thoughts, same energy, and nothing shifted. Not because the alignment didn't affect them, and it did, but because they weren't conscious enough to participate in it. They were passengers, not co-creators, and that's the difference. February 17th will happen whether you're ready or not. The alignment will occur, the energies will shift, but whether you use it or not, that's entirely up to you. So why do most people miss it? Because they're waiting for permission, they're waiting for proof, they're waiting for it to feel safe or logical or guaranteed. But that's not how this works. Cosmic windows don't come with instruction manuals. Synchronicity doesn't announce itself in advance. You have to be awake enough to recognize it when it's happening, and you have to be brave enough to act without knowing exactly how it's going to unfold. That level of trust is rare. Most people don't have it. But you're here, so maybe you do. There's another reason people miss these windows. They don't believe they're allowed to have what they want. They've been conditioned to think that manifestation is for other people. For the lucky ones, for the special ones, for those who somehow deserve it more. So even when a portal opens, they don't walk through it. They stand at the threshold and talk themselves out of it. They tell themselves it's too good to be true. They tell themselves they're not ready. They tell themselves they'll do it next time, but next time might not come for years. You have to understand something. The universe doesn't care about your story. It doesn't care if you had a hard childhood, or if you've failed before, or if you think you're not spiritual enough, or smart enough, or worthy enough. Those are narratives you're carrying. The field doesn't read narratives. It reads frequency. It reads intention. It reads alignment. And on February 17th, if your frequency matches the opening, the door swings wide. No prerequisites, no qualifications, just resonance. The people who capitalize on moments like this aren't superhuman. They're not more gifted or more deserving. They're just more willing. They're willing to believe that this could be the moment. They're willing to act as if it's already working. They're willing to let go of the need for certainty and step into the unknown. And that willingness, that openness, is what allows the energy to move through them. That's the difference between someone who transforms their life on February 17th and someone who looks back 6 months later and says, "I wish I had paid attention." So which one are you going to be? The one who shows up, or the one who waits for another chance that might not come? The choice is yours, but the window is closing before it even opens, because if you're not preparing for this now, if you're not getting clear on what you want, if you're not aligning your energy, if you're not building the internal foundation, then when February 17th comes, you'll be scrambling. And scrambling doesn't work. This requires clarity. It requires focus. It requires intention, and all of that starts now. If you're ready to step into this power, write in the comments, "I am aligned." Let me know you're one of the ones who's paying attention. Now let's talk about the actual mechanism. What's really happening on a level beyond symbolism and metaphor? Because this isn't just poetic language. There's something tangible going on here, even if mainstream science hasn't caught up to it yet. Planetary alignments are real physical events. The gravitational fields of massive celestial bodies do interact. The electromagnetic fields generated by these bodies do fluctuate. And you, your body, your nervous system, your brain, are sensitive to those fields, whether you realize it or not. Your nervous system is essentially an antenna. It's constantly picking up information from the environment, not just visual or auditory, but electromagnetic, subtle, energetic. Studies have shown that human beings are affected by solar flares, by geomagnetic storms, by lunar cycles. Heart rate variability changes, mood shifts, sleep patterns fluctuate. This isn't mysticism. It's measurable. So when you hear that a planetary alignment affects you, it's not that the planets are sending something. It's that you're part of the same field. You're resonating with the same system. And when that system shifts, you feel it. February the 17th is one of those shifts. The alignment of Jupiter, Neptune, and the Sun creates a specific frequency, a specific configuration of forces that your system responds to. If you're unconscious, it washes over you, and you might feel vaguely restless or inspired without knowing why. But if you're conscious, if you're intentional, you can tune into it, you can use it. You can align your own frequency with what's available, and that alignment creates coherence. Coherence creates momentum, and momentum creates results. There's an ancient Greek concept called kairos, as opposed to chronos. Chronos is linear time, clock time, the time you measure in hours and minutes. Kairos is opportune time, the right moment, the time when action has weight. The Greeks understood that not all moments are equal. Some moments are charged with potential. Some moments are doorways. And if you step through at the right time, everything changes. If you hesitate, the door closes. February 17 is Kairos. It's not just another day on the calendar. It's a coordinate in time-space where multiple forces converge. And that convergence creates a window, a brief opening where the usual resistance you encounter when trying to shift your reality drops significantly. It's like trying to open a door that's usually locked, and for 24 hours, it's unlocked. You still have to turn the handle, you still have to walk through, but the barrier is gone. Think of it this way. Most of the time when you try to manifest something, you're pushing against resistance. You're trying to change a pattern, shift a belief, redirect momentum that's been moving in one direction for years. It's like swimming upstream. It's possible, but it takes enormous effort. But during a window like February 17th, the current shifts. Suddenly you're swimming with the tide. The resistance drops. The effort required decreases dramatically. And that's when breakthroughs happen, not because you suddenly got better at manifesting, but because the conditions changed. Historically, people who've made major life shifts often did so during moments like this. Not because they planned it that way, but because something inside them recognized the opening and moved. They didn't overthink it. They didn't wait for all the conditions to be perfect. They felt the pull, and they followed it. And later, looking back, they realized that decision changed everything. That moment was the hinge point. That's what February 17th can be for you. A hinge point, a before and after, but only if you're awake to it, only if you recognize it, only if you participate. And participation doesn't mean sitting around hoping something magical will happen. It means engaging with the energy. It means setting a clear intention. It means aligning your actions with your desire. It means showing up fully, not halfway. Here's what most people get wrong about manifestation. They think it's passive. They think they just visualize and wait. But that's not how it works. Manifestation is a co-creative process. You and reality are dancing together. And during windows like February 17, reality is more responsive, more fluid, more willing to meet you halfway. But you still have to take the first step. You still have to move. You still have to signal your intention through action, not just thought. If you've been applying these principles, but still feel like something is blocking your manifestation, like there's a missing piece you can't quite see, I left something for you in the first pinned comment. It's for those who are ready to break through. How do you know if you're tuned in? Synchronicities. When you're aligned with the frequency of a moment like this, reality starts confirming it. You see repeating numbers. You have a thought, and someone texts you about that exact thing. You hear a song, and the lyrics speak directly to what you're going through. These aren't coincidences, they're feedback. They're the field responding to your state, and the more you notice them, the stronger the signal gets. On February 17th, if you're doing this right, the synchronicities will be undeniable. You won't have to question whether it's working or not. You'll know, because the universe doesn't whisper when you're aligned. It shouts, it confirms, it shows you again and again that you're on the right track. And that confirmation isn't just reassuring, it's functional. It's information. It's telling you what to do next, where to focus, what to release. So let's get practical. What do you actually do on February 17? Because intention without action is just wishing. And action without intention is just busy work. You need both. You need to know what you want, and you need to engage with the energy in a way that signals to reality that you're serious. Here's how. First, preparation. This starts now, not on February 17. You need to get clear on what you're calling in, not vague wishes, not "I want to be happy" or "I want things to get better." Specific intentions. What does your life look like after this shift? What changes? What feels different? What are you doing, experiencing, embodying? Write it down. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Because when it's just in your head, it's abstract. When it's written, it becomes real. It becomes a declaration. Spend the days leading up to February 17th, clearing space energetically. That means letting go of what's no longer aligned. Old patterns, old beliefs, old relationships that drain you, old commitments that don't serve you. You can't step into the new while clutching the old. The alignment will amplify whatever you're holding. So if you're holding fear, doubt, resentment, scarcity, those will amplify too. Clean house. Make room for what you're calling in. On the day itself, February 17th, the alignment peaks at a specific time. You don't need to know the exact minute, but you do need to create a window of intentional focus sometime during that day. An hour, 2 hours, however long feels right. This isn't about performing a ritual perfectly. It's about being fully present with your intention. Turn off distractions. No phone, no notifications, no background noise. Just you and your intention. Start with stillness. Sit, breathe, ground yourself, feel your body, feel the space around you. You're not trying to do anything yet. You're just tuning in, aligning your nervous system, dropping out of the mental chatter and into the field. This is where presence begins, and presence is the portal. Once you're settled, bring your intention into focus, not as a thought, but as a feeling. What does it feel like to already have what you want? What does it feel like to be living in that reality? Don't visualize it like a movie you're watching. Embody it. Feel it in your chest, your gut, your bones. This is the key. Emotion is the language the field understands. Thought is surface level. Emotion is frequency. And frequency is what moves reality. Now write. Write your intention by hand. Not on a phone, not on a computer. Handwriting engages a different part of your brain. It slows you down. It makes the act more deliberate, more embodied. Write as if it's already done. Not I want, or I hope, or I will. Write I am, write I have. Write in present tense, as if February 17th is the day it all clicked into place, and you're simply documenting what's already true. Don't edit. Don't second guess. Don't worry about sounding right. Just write from the feeling, let it pour out. And when you're done, read it back to yourself, out loud. Hear your own voice declaring it, because that act, speaking your intention into the air, is a form of creation. You're not asking, you're not hoping, you're announcing, you're claiming it. After that act, take one action, even a small one, that's aligned with your intention. If your intention is about abundance, move money, donate something, buy something that represents the abundance you're stepping into. If your intention is about a relationship, reach out to someone. If it's about a career shift, update your resume, send an email, make the call. The action doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real, because action is the bridge between intention and manifestation. It's how you signal to reality that you're not just thinking about it, you're moving toward it. And then, this is critical. Let it go. Don't spend the next week obsessing over whether it's working. Don't check for results every 5 minutes. Trust that the seed has been planted. Trust that the alignment did its job. Your job now is to stay open, stay present, and notice what shows up. Because it will show up. Maybe not the way you expect, maybe not in the timeline you imagined, but it will show up. Now here's where most people sabotage themselves. They do the ritual, they feel the energy, they take the action, and then 3 days later, doubt creeps in. Did I do it right? Why haven't I seen anything yet? Maybe this doesn't work for me. And in that moment of doubt, they unplug from the frequency they just tuned into. They pull the seed out of the ground to check if it's growing. Don't do that. Doubt is normal. Impatience is normal. But don't act on it. Notice it, acknowledge it, and then return to trust. The first 72 hours after February 17 are crucial. Not because the manifestation has to show up by then, but because that's when your nervous system is most likely to revert to old patterns. You might feel resistance. You might feel fear, you might feel like nothing changed. That's not evidence that it didn't work. That's your system adjusting to the new frequency. Stay the course. Keep taking aligned actions. Keep noticing synchronicities, even small ones. Keep holding the feeling of what you declared on February 17. Here's how you'll know it's working. You won't need to convince yourself. Within days, sometimes within hours, you'll start to see confirmations. A text message from someone you hadn't thought about in weeks, saying exactly what you needed to hear. A job posting that matches what you wrote down. A song on the radio that echoes your intention. These aren't random. They're breadcrumbs. They're reality saying, I hear you. Keep going. And the more you notice them, the more they multiply. Some people experience massive shifts immediately. Relationships end or begin. Job offers appear. Money shows up. But for most people, it's subtler at first. An internal shift. A change in how you feel about yourself, your situation, your future. And then, over the following weeks and months, that internal shift starts to reflect externally. Doors open. Opportunities align. People show up. It doesn't feel forced or desperate. It feels natural, like reality rearranging itself to match who you've become. Here's what happens if you do this. In the days and weeks following February 17, you'll start to see movement. Opportunities that weren't there before. Conversations that open doors. Synchronicities that confirm you're on the right path. Your reality will start to reorganize itself around your new frequency. Not overnight, not magically, but tangibly. You'll feel it. You'll see it. And you'll know that something shifted. And here's what happens if you don't. Life continues as it was. Same patterns, same results, same frustrations. Not because the alignment didn't happen, it did, but because you didn't participate, you didn't claim it, you didn't step through the door when it was open. And the door doesn't stay open forever. So the question isn't whether February 17 is real or whether this works. The question is, are you willing to show up for it? Are you willing to be intentional, to be present, to take action, even when you don't have all the answers? Because the people who transform their lives aren't the ones with the most knowledge or the most resources. They're the ones who show up when it matters. And this is one of those moments. February 17, 2026, that's your date. That's your window. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to be more prepared or more spiritual or more worthy. You just need to be there, conscious, intentional, aligned. The universe doesn't care about your doubts. It cares about your frequency. And on that day, if your frequency says yes, reality will meet you there. You don't even have to believe in astrology for this to work. You just have to believe that certain moments carry more potential than others. You just have to be willing to engage with that potential. Jung understood this. He didn't reduce synchronicity to superstition. He saw it as a bridge between the psyche and the cosmos, a moment when the internal and external worlds align. That's what February 17 is, a bridge. And you get to decide whether you walk across it or watch from the shore. If you stayed until the end, write in the comments, "I am the creator," and I've left another lesson on your screen now to take you one step deeper. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.